Okay. Good morning and good afternoon. We are doing our weekly hypnosis talks with me, Jessaiah, and the great Pete. And today we decided that we're going to talk about exploring internally for an unknown and meaningful message. And so I would say, like, what does that mean? And, you know, there's so many ways to listen in to our own selves. And my experience personally and with clients is that it works different for everybody. Sometimes it's easier to listen in than other days. Some days you're getting messages without even asking. Some days you're looking and looking, and all you hear is, I don't know. And so just wanted to, discuss some of these experiences. And anyone who's watching now, like, you know, feel free to share any of your experiences where you were not able to get a message, you got one that surprised you, that you judged, you got one that surprised you and you were happy about it, and so forth. I'll share that for me. I just had an experience where I was working with a practitioner and they asked me a question, and I was feeling and thinking inside myself, I don't know, and I was still listening and listening. And then I think I probably said something like, well, I'm not sure yet. And then she's like, okay, she's like, yeah, let's sink in and get deeper. And then um, there was a bit of my mind that thought, oh, will I really get deep? Will that really, happen? But okay, just following the process. And it was really interesting to experience, like, the levels and the layers. And there was a part of me that felt like nothing changed, like, kind of, that I was still in the place that I was in when I walked in the door. But the reality is that with each breath, as you start to relax more and more, you're going to be in a different state than when you're parking your car, someone parked next to you too close, and you're trying to walk in the store and what have you, opposed to 15 minutes of just sort of downloading whatever you need to, laying down, sitting down, and starting to breathe. And then that feeling of, something, Pete, that you taught me is that when you say, I don't know, it's like, that's right. You don't know now. And the I don't know is actually an opportunity to explore. So I think that's a really cool um, thing to remember, because I don't know can feel so like, boom, done. I don't know. But then when we can be reminded with that nice thing that, that you shared with me, it's just like, I don't know means I get to find out. So I get to explore internally for an unknown, really.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, do you have something you would like to say on that?
Yeah, like my approach to the I don't knows is very much curiosity,
Right.
because I'll look at almost everything in my life. There was a point where I did not know, right? I did not know how to drive a car. I did not know how to put someone in the trance. I did not know how to even tie my own shoes, right? At some point in my life. And if we get stuck on the I don't know as if it's a conclusion,
Mm.
then we'll never progress. But if we go into the I don't know with curiosity of like, you know what? I didn't know how to drive. But that meant I just had to learn something new. I had to dig a little deeper into my reserves to go, oh man, might be scary, right? First time going on a highway when everyone else is going 75, 80, and I'm think 65 is fast, right? I think 50 is fast. I didn't know, right? But I still went with it with that curiosity of like, well, how do I find out? Yeah, what do I got to do to know?
Mm.
And just when it's internal stuff and we can go, yeah, I don't know. That's cool. Be proud you don't know, because it means you're going to enter unknown territory. And that's where all new things, habits, beliefs, thoughts, feelings, changes live. They
Right.
live in the I don't know.
Mm. And that's so cool because it's like, what does your I don't know look like today? Is it a cave, in your sacral or in your stomach? Is it a forest outside there? Is it the ocean? Is it a whale? You know, is it a place you can always go back to, or will it change all the time? I think that could be something really interesting to explore is like, what is the terrain of my I don't know? And then maybe even like, am I equipped to walk through that I don't know, or swim through it, or fly through it? You know,
Yeah.
something that just kind of came to mind. I thought it'd be really nice to do, as we've been trying to do on these shows every week, to do just like a small little guided thing, maybe to our I don't know place, or to explore something internally. Is that something that you could do for just a few minutes, or is it something I should do today?
You do it today.
Okay. All right. So we'll just go ahead and do a few minutes of a guided meditation and an internal exploration. So this is on the, flying by the seat of my pants here. So everyone who's listening, if you want to just take a moment here and just take a nice breath in and just allow yourself a few minutes in this moment now to be in an open place to explore internally. To explore internally the I don't know, unknowns, and meaningful messages. Noticing in your body that you're allowing yourself these few moments to just take it in and relax, and taking some nice breaths into your body. And as you breathe, notice your openness to your imagination and the terrain of your unknown. And allow yourself to be there where your imagination brings you. And notice your I don't know terrain. Notice how you feel in your body around it. Happiness, excitement, fear, wanting to run away, wanting to run in. And as you look around, I want you to just notice what you might need to make this exploration easier on you. It might be a coat, it might be scuba gear, it might be better shoes, it might be good food, water, anything it might be. And go ahead and adorn yourself and get yourself prepared in that way for what you need. Tapping into your explorative nature, your inquisitive, open, adventurous, listening spirit. And go ahead and start to walk around in this terrain. I'll give you just a minute or so to see where this terrain and this imagination takes you. And in this just short time, just for this exercise, I want you to just take what your experience was. And if it's a place that you'd like to go back to, mark it in a special way in your mind or in your heart. Perhaps take something and put it in your pocket. That's a reminder. Put it somewhere in your body, somewhere in some way, if you'd like to take this experience back to explore it more on your own, thanking this place, again, if you want to come back to it, marking it so that you can. And then gently, 5 counts, just coming back from the imaginative space into the rest of today's hypnosis talk. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, opening your eyes with your experience or your marked place. And Pete, do you have something to share did you have a small experience there?
Yeah, so I actually really enjoyed the train. And it was funny when you were like, say, find something that you need there. 2 things came to my mind right away before you said them. One was a driver. The other one was a guide to tell me what's going on outside the train. So like mine wasn't like a commuter train where it was like, oh, we're going from Boston to New York. It was like a train, kind of like a definitely an old style locomotive, but it was like an exploration train. I think that might be the best way to describe it. Where it's like a tour guide, and he's like, "Oh, this is what we're gonna see. This is what we're gonna do. This is what we need when we get here." And I was like, "Okay," And I was like, I'm like, "What do I need to wear?" I'm like, "Is it gonna be hot or is it gonna be cold?" And he's like, "Oh, you got to figure that out before we continue." And I'm like, "Okay." So like that stuff, I think I saved it for later so I can go back, so I can learn more about where the train is heading, so I can be prepared for it.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
So interesting, because I was actually using the word terrain and
Oh.
train, which is so cool.
Yeah.
Because a train is absolutely like, what a perfect vehicle for destination, And
Yeah.
so, and that totally works, because I think in my in my mind, like, first of all, trains go through terrains, and
Yeah.
second of all, either you're the vehicle or the train is the vehicle, right? So it's just, so that's cool that's how you heard it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, like, I was just imagining right away, like, the terrain was desert and cactus, and so
Mm.
that was interesting, and just kind of like, okay. And I think that's the thing too, is when we do these explorations, whether they're guided or they are self-guided or guided by others, is to do our very best to let our imagination free. Don't bind it up, don't judge it, don't try to make it something else. But I would say maybe what you could do is ask questions, and that's, I think, one of the biggest things that I've learned with you, um, is the importance of asking right questions, which is very much like that inquisitive nature, that I don't know. It really allows you to ask questions. And I think that might be, I don't know, like, do you think it's the difference between like the conscious mind and the subconscious mind? It almost,
Very, very much so.
okay.
Right. Because
Subconscious almost asks more questions, and the conscious mind dictates and tells you what things
the
are, maybe.
yeah. So like the way I look at it is the conscious mind takes everything from the outside. So everything we see, hear, smell, taste, like touch, it takes all of that and it has to give it a reason for it being there.
Yeah, right.
And so when we go, well, what's on the other side of all this stuff I'm physically noticing? It goes, well, I don't know.
Right.
Because the conscious mind can't know, because it can only go by our senses, where our unconscious mind is the opposite. Right? Our unconscious mind looks beyond I say, reality of what's going on around us, right? It can go beyond the house we're living in. It can go beyond the job we're currently at. It can go beyond how people treat us. But our conscious mind can't. it very much gets stuck on, oh, Barbara's a jerk to me, right? She said these words and they were mean. The conscious mind gets stuck on that.
Mm-hmm.
It can't go beyond her words, but our unconscious mind can go, well, maybe she's having a rough day.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, man, she's going through some crazy stuff in her personal life and her bandwidth is just at zero and she's struggling. That's the ability of our unconscious mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Although those still seem like constructed, like things to put on it opposed to a question. Like, so.
So if you go, could she be having personal problems outside of, let's say, work? That is a question where you can go like, well, yeah, she probably is, right?
Right.
Is it, could I have said something
Mm-hmm.
that rubbed her the wrong way, that gave her a bad impression of me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Though, I've come to realize there's really no bad questions
Mm-hmm.
because ultimately, if you have a bad question, it'll at least put a crack in the door for the good ones.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, it sounds like these questions put a crack in the solidity that the conscious mind, seems to need to give us in order to function, kind of in this material world. But especially if it's something that we really hold to be true, and especially if it's limiting us, then it seems like when you can ask those questions, it does start to crack it apart, right?
Right. And like this is one where if anyone studies like NLP, they spend a lot of time on questions, right? Especially belief questions. Because they go, is this always true?
Right.
Right. It's a good question. Like, let's say someone is being aggressive towards you, right? And you go, everyone's just aggressive towards you. And you go, everyone? And it's like, well, no, like the mailman's not mean to me. Okay, so not everyone, right? And that could just, again, begin to break down. Well, if it's not everyone, then who? Oh, it's just the people at work. Okay, so it's only people at work. I wonder why it's only people at work, and you're just digging deeper into that. I don't know why it's only people at work. All right, let me think. Like, how do I interact with them? Right? Am I a team player? Am I the lone wolf? Right? Am I sarcastic, but also trying to be funny? Right? Is it, well, they keep asking me to go out to lunch and I say no. So I'm excluding myself from the connection that they all have with each other. I'm alienating myself. Or is it, what? They all drink at lunch. I don't drink. I'm okay with it then. Right? That's not a group I want to be connected with.
Right.
And so usually just by asking just the different questions of, is it always true? When is it true? When is it not true? Right. We begin to crack open that door of just other possibilities to come through.
Right. So just to kind of circle back around, and just for the last couple minutes here, when there is an unknown, I think some people love to have unknowns, of course, but if the unknown is an obstacle and you want to get to a knowing place, first you can go back on this video and just remember, go through that small thing that we did and maybe just pause it and then stay in that place once I say, okay, now we're going to end it, and just see what develops. Also, throughout your day, I'm thinking, some nice tips are to say, I don't know yet. Yep. You can also say, what are some other ideas that you can think of as far as?
Yeah, I'm learning.
I don't know. Okay.
Right. I'm learning is always a good one.
Okay.
Because again, I don't know. It doesn't mean it's impossible to know.
Right.
It's just we haven't learned it yet. You
Mm.
know, and so you get to go every day. I'm learning more about myself.
Mm.
Right. Every day I'm learning more about how to get where I'm trying to go.
And then even at the end of the day, you could say, what did I learn about myself today? Or what did I unpack or learn about the I don't know, right?
Yep.
And then validating it when you see it throughout the day. Oh, this was a moment that I did know, or that
I
felt
learned something.
I felt an aspect to the possibility of knowing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, um, thank you for today. And I think that, you know, the internal landscape is a great one that we can, investigate. And I do think too that sometimes it's just important to get external and get physical. I do think that we can overdo it sometimes, and that we can find a lot of knowingness and just a lot of life by going out there and doing it too. And so that's kind of my ending piece about, for today regarding that the internal work is so important, and never for it to exclude the external, just living life and going out there and doing it too. That's my personal experience and my words of wisdom for the day around this topic. How about you?
Yeah, I love that. Like I say, the other thing I would probably add from my experience is you need to be able and willing to put effort into learning it, into going deeper. And in my experience, it doesn't just happen because you go, well, I don't know. The answer will come to me, and kind of just ignore it completely. Right? Just like when you learn the alphabet, or um, to drive a car, or whatever job we have now, we had to put time into it. Right? We had to put time into, like you said, the reflections of, hey, what did I learn today? Right? What did I find out about myself? Right? What did I learn to get me closer to being more clear on what I didn't know about before? Because I forget who the person was, but they're like, if you do like 1% a day on just becoming a 1% more clearer, or learning 1%, at the end of a year, you're 32 times better. Right. And so, like, that is a massive increase for just doing a little work. And we have to remember, it's progress over perfection. It's the daily steps that will get us to where we need to be. Don't worry about the end per se, just that you're taking that 1% a day.
Yeah.
Going, I'm going to take 5 minutes. That's
Hmm.
all it is.
Yeah, totally. I agree with that. Well, as always, anyone that's listening, please feel free to reach out if there's stuff you want to talk about, you have a question, or you want to work with either of us. Any of these things, then just contact us on social media. And until then, hope everyone has a great week. And thank you, Pete,
Yes.
for showing
Thank you.
up. All right. Bye.
Bye.